Hi there, I'm Liza from Crafty Creations. I see things online and I want to make them. By now you know what I'm up to, so let's cut straight to the chase. Sorry for disappearing for 3 weeks. The project started to feel so overwhelming that I couldn't look at it for a while. But I'm back and determined to finish this dress. Remember when I said the top would be the hardest part? I was wrong. It's the skirt that still gives me nightmares, but we will get there. For the top, I had a general idea of what I wanted, just no clue on how to get there. Here's my inspiration: some boning, some cups, a separate closure in the back, and everything hidden inside. I've never done anything like this before, so yep, should be fun. I started digging through all my old sewing magazines, trying to find something I could work with. And yes, I know, terrible posture, let's just ignore that. I found a few patterns that could work for the top. First, there's a simple dress pattern. It already has a V-neck, but the shoulders are very different from what I need. Then there's this basic dress with princess seams. It doesn't have a V-neck yet, but I could easily cut one in. I really like the princess seams for the shaping. And finally, another dress with princess seams. The shoulders here are closer to what I'm aiming for, and the neckline is already much lower, which should make adjusting it into a V-neck a lot easier. I double-checked the pattern pieces, and they go pretty much in the direction I want for the top part. So, time to make a muslin and see how it looks in real life. For pattern tracing, I always use non-stick paper that's meant for the oven. I find it to be the best and the cheapest. I bought a double pack of these at Costco like 7 years ago, and I've only now started using the second roll, so it really lasts forever. So these are the pattern pieces I cut out. We have the 2 back pieces and the 2 front pieces. I did not try to estimate a V shape there yet. I want to try it on first and then kind of look how deep I have to go. I also know I want to change the back. I don't want it this high in the back, even though I'm still not sure how to close it. So I have to figure it out on the way. Here we have a very basic, very cheap cotton fabric from IKEA that I always use for my muslins. For the sake of having a better fit for the muslin, I'm gonna sew the back together and leave a side seam open, even though that's not what I'm gonna do with the dress. So this is my muslin tried on. As you can see, it is still quite big. Here's the seam I used to close. I couldn't get the top, but that's not too bad. This is too big anyway. We have lots of space everywhere. I feel like I could take this much away at least, and then it also gives nicer seams here. So if I start by pinning this down, so this is already nicer. I mean, we worry about the back later, but I think this is better. The seams are still at a nice place, nothing is out of shape. And now we will figure out until where I could do the V-neck. My bra stops about here, which I think is a good starting point. So just mark a bit there. It should at least be here, not more in. It was quite low, so that's why I'm starting it at the bra. Maybe something like this. This could work. Yeah. Have to figure it out once I take it off. So I sewed down what was bothering me, and then I figured out where the actual middle was and cut a nice V shape in there. I think this shape really works well. It looks nice. I put like a slight curve in here, and the rest is more straight because I like this shape. And I think that's something we can work with. Yes! Because I want to do some cups on the inside, I'll try to figure out where my bra sits and then kind of work from there. That's why I pinned it to my top here, so it's a bit more secure. I'll just try it. Maybe it doesn't work, maybe it does. Who knows? This is really not so easy if you can't see shit. Okay. We have something. This is where my underwire sits. Looks a bit big though. Anyway, and then my bra goes about here, which I think is okay. Something like this, maybe. This looks totally crap, but maybe it will work. So now it is time to rip the piece that I changed, which is the front, open again, and then I'll try to make a pattern out of whatever I drew on here. All the other pieces I don't need anymore, I can just put them to the side. All I need are these ones. I'll just quickly iron them so that I have a better view again. All right, here we go. So let's start with the main piece. Just gonna fold it in half. Let's see what good of a job I made. Oh, I think it's not too bad. Nice. So that's here, that's here. Something like this. Now it's onto this side. See what we got here. And now I will just cut it because the foam padding will be without seam allowance anyway. And I don't need this scrap muslin. This also means I cut away the seam allowance here. Okay, and I can already see how I'm gonna forget which parts belong together. So I'm gonna write it on. This is the middle. This is also the middle. This is a T for top. And a B for bottom. Right? Yeah. Because this can get easily confusing, and I know myself. It is time to cut the real fabric. For the structure pieces inside, I used the same fabric as for the underskirt, just to keep things light. I still don't have proper foam for the cups, so I used whatever this is. I think this is actually used for cars, but if I take a double, it works fine. I thought it made the most sense to start with the structure pieces and then sew the lining and the outside pieces. So I started with searching the pieces for the structure first. Then I sewed the cups together. Well, I tried. It always looks so easy when others do it, but my machine was just not having it that day. It took me about 5 tries. The thread kept snapping and the stitches were a mess. Sometimes straight, sometimes zigzag, holes everywhere. Yeah, it was so much fun. Once the cups were finally done, I attached them to the underbust pieces and added the channels for the underwire. The underwire turned out to be a bit too long in the end, so I had to cut off a bit. So this is what my front structure piece looks like for now. It doesn't have to look nice. I'm not trying to win prizes with it. It will not be visible. Next, sewing together the other pieces front and back. I added some interfacing on the edges of the V-neck to make it more secure. I did that for the lining as well as the outside piece. This is where I imagined my structure to go. The plan is to sew it together with the lining so that it's nearly invisible from the in or outside, and then put the outside piece on top. Before I'm trying to put these two together, I'm gonna add some boning channels with some plain Dollarama ribbon and a cable tie. I love it when you can stop a ribbon from unraveling by holding fire to it. It makes my life so much easier. After preparing and sewing on the channels, I can cut the cable ties. I'm using a nail file because it really works wonders to smooth the ends. Trust me. Now I just have to close the channels and I can start putting the pieces together. I pinned everything together carefully, matching the structure and the inside pieces. This was a bit harder than expected because the underwire kept pulling it so much. When I finally had it all pinned together, I sewed it by hand so it's almost invisible from the inside. Here, or even before that, I must have made a mistake. As you will see later, the cups are sitting way too low. But luckily, it doesn't ruin the top as it is barely visible. Fast forward, I put it all together and forgot how to film the back. But it's basically 2 boned panels with lacing, so you get the idea. This is what the lining with the structure pieces looks like. We have the boning and cup parts sewed onto the lining, and then the lacing on the inside, so that I can pull the dress tight around my waist, and then close the dress on top of it. So this piece is finished, and the outside pieces as well. Now I only have to combine these two and give it a nice finish in the front. Here you can see it a bit better what I meant with the cups that are too low, but anyway. I put everything together nicely, secured the V-neck with a back stitch, and totally forgot to film it horizontally. So here we are. Hello, boobies. The lacing really does its wonders here. I had to try it on quickly with the skirt, and I never felt more like a bride. But it's so promising, I can't wait to see it with the skirt fully attached. With the top done, I moved on to trying everything together on the mannequin. And what a surprise, this skirt just wasn't working. It was still too long, it was still too much fabric, and it really wasn't giving me the shape I wanted at all. Thank you for your comments on part 3. I looked in your suggestions and realized there are hoop skirts out there that look like this, and it would have been a much better fit for the AI dress. But honestly, I'm too far into this project and I'm running out of budget and time to do this all over again, so I just have to work with the skirt I have and try my best to fix this. First I tried shortening it and putting the fabric in folds at the waist. This turned out okay-ish, but I wasn't really happy with it. It felt like it was still too much fabric and the flowers that I will glue on will disappear in fabric folds. So I cut it all off again, starting with the fur and then the train. I wanted to make a whole new skirt with less fabric. Of course, my leftover fabric wasn't enough to do a whole new skirt, so I had to piece it together from the old skirt. Honestly, the skirt is just pure patchwork by now. Back to a circle skirt pattern, which is basically all I could do with the existing skirt. Just shoulder and fit it at the waist. Here's a good 9 seconds of me just eating flips because I was afraid of destroying the skirt even more. Anyway, here I am fighting with the existing train and the leftover fabric to make a new nice train that follows the line of the circle skirt. More and more patchwork. Luckily, this is all going to be covered with flowers. The living room was occupied for a while, so I'm filming in my sewing room. I searched the skirt pieces and put it all together by finally attaching the skirt to the top. The first try-on felt so good. The skirt folds way better now. Those folds at the waist did the dress no favors. Now it's really starting to come together. Back with my Gala posture, trying to fit the fur. Since I shortened the skirt, I figured the fur would be too long now. Nope, it turns out it's 50 centimeters too short. This was really scrambling my brain. It turns out I must have added more volume to the train without realizing it. So I had to take away a bit more from the skirt. Honestly, the skirt is just a mess. Before attaching the fur, I sewed horsehair around the hem to give it a better shape. By the way, 9 meters of horsehair used up completely. That's the circumference of the skirt now. And that's it! Finally! Tomorrow is my first day at work and the sewing part of this dress is finally finished. I think it's beautiful, even if it's totally uneven and crooked. The train folds much more naturally now and the skirt flows way better. The dress is done and so am I. But now I can't wait to add the flowers, the butterflies and the leaves to make it come to life. Thank you for waiting and thank you for watching. Stay excited for the last and final part and the reveal. I honestly can't wait to see it myself.